I look like I touched an electrical cord. I didn't touch any electrical cords. It is, well, actually, you know what? First, I need to make a different sort of video. Do I? No, you know what? I'll just spit this out. I'll split it out and I'll make it so it's the beginning of one standalone video and then the beginning of the Friday video. That way I'll have it up twice and I will only have to say it once. So, it is Friday. It's Christmas Eve, which is pretty neat. I finally have a space to do my video because they're going to go see the new Spider-Man tomorrow. And so what they're doing, what Sabrina and the kids are doing, is they're watching previous couple Spider-Man movies. So Sebastian's up to speed because he's never been to a movie before. So tomorrow's the day. So it should be pretty quiet. Okay, so let's see. What the heck is going on? Oh my gosh, so much stuff. There's so many things I want to talk about. There's so much great stuff going on right now. I don't know. It's just, I've been sort of, I don't know, I feel kind of like a hibernating bear. I've been kind of hiding from the world because, frankly, I've been dreading taking in more work because of, you know, a lot of upset people out there. It's like, man, come on, I'm one guy. I think, oh, I don't even imagine, I don't even know how many people have been asking, hundreds. So I want to come up with a different plan to do that, or how to make this work. I have, as you know, by the last video, I started taking work again. I've started taking work again. I was going to say sorta, but it's not sorta. I have taken work again. I put up those slots, and they sold very, very quickly. Even with that, my goal is the few jobs that I did to have them done by March 1st. That's my goal. I don't want watches hanging around here forever. I don't want that. So that's my current plan. Now, the next time I'm going to list stuff, a lot of people, and I knew this before I listed them, a lot of people, especially in different time zones, didn't know that this was happening, that I was doing this, because I didn't tell anybody, because I didn't know myself. It was just a off-the-cuff idea. I would like to, I'm going to modify this system. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a mailing list sign-up thing on the website. I haven't done it yet. Don't go. But I'm going to put a mailing list on there for everybody can then put their email in, and then when I am getting close to taking work again and know how many slots I'm going to put up, I'll send everyone an email and say, hey, I'm going to be doing this. It's the best way I can think of to make sure to reach everybody, because I mean, you got people on Instagram and Reddit and Facebook and Watch You Seek and all these other places. The old forum, SCWF. I don't know. I personally think it's kind of amazing. I haven't been on the SCWF for, gosh, over 7 years since they banned me, and apparently there's a big thread of them talking about, they love talking about me. I don't know why. I don't go there, and I don't interact with those people, but you know, one of the greatest there are a few of the old timers that I still hang out with virtually. Dave Sorkin is one of them. Aaron Costello is another. Saul Brook is a third. Peter Horn is fourth. But the vast majority I don't really talk to anymore. I don't avoid them. I just don't talk to them. But anyway, Dave Sorkin, who is he's at almost the top of the ladder. He's the top of the top. He's the guy. Anyway, he wrote me the other day, and I hear from him every now and then. And he just said he told me about it, and he showed me the comment that he made, which was supportive, which I think, and it's important. But you know, I do what I can. I'm only one person. So I'm going to have the mailing list. I'm also considering ways to have the choices be even more random. It would be great to have something like a raffle, but not a raffle. I don't know. I don't want to. It's not going to be a money thing. I personally, I don't believe in gambling. That's kind of one of my weird things. I don't like gambling. It makes me nervous. But I would like to have some kind of ideally, have a pool, virtual pool, not an actual one, and put all the people's names in the hats from the mailing list, people who wanted to get their stuff done, and then do a random draw. I think that would be even better. Like have a, put your hat in the ring for the March 1st draw or something. I mean, maybe every quarter there's going to be a draw, maybe every month and a half or something. So if anybody has an idea about how I can do that, please let me know. Because I think that would be even better. I don't like feeling guilty, but I tend to feel guilty all the time, like I'm letting people down or not helping out people, and I wanna really help people out. I can't help everybody. I simply can't. And there are also some people out there that they seem to feel that they're pretty privileged and that I owe them a slot. These are, in many cases, these are people I've never worked with before. I've been emailing you for years. I can't choose everybody. There's no pecking order. So what I want to do then, since I can't take everybody's work and do everybody's job, I want to make it choice-free and utterly random. So that's the next thing I'm looking for. To those who wanted to get a spot and couldn't, I truly am sorry. What can I do? What can I do? But I'm going to do all that I can do. So in the meantime, I'll keep you apprised of what's going on, and we'll go from there. Yeah, this first round of things was not a test run because I'm actually getting jobs in, but it's the dawn of the new era. How about that? But that means we're back to the Friday video. Last week I didn't make the video even though I was ready to, because we had terrifically high winds here. And naturally, of course, the one section of fence, which I haven't ever gotten around to redoing, is also the longest section of the fence, and it faces perpendicular to where we get wind. So, man, I was trying to get the thing, it was just flat. I was trying to put it back up and get it going, and the wind would come, and it was these gusts. It was taking the whole fence back and forth like this, and it actually pulled me off my feet at a certain point. It was like getting picked up by a sail. If you're in a sailboat and you're come about, and your sail, if your boom isn't tightened up, if you're not thinking, your boom is loose, you come about and the wind catches it the other way, it can pull you right off your feet. It's deposited people I've known right into the water. And that's what it felt like. So it was a long day, cold and gray. And I was the only one out because everybody's gone for Christmas. All the students are gone. Out there trying to screw the fence together enough that it will hold up. And so far it has, but I'm going to have to redo the fence. But, it feels to me like there's a lot of things. We're coming to that. We've passed the solstice. In the old reckoning, the old year is dead. And the new year has begun. So everything's sort of changing. The old stuff stays back in the past. Dump it. Let's move to the future. I think that's a great idea. Whew. Okay. Well, you know what? Let's do wrist check. Okay, wrist check. It's actually going to be two. One, I'm testing a watch. This is a 27 joule Seiko Bellmatic. It's a 4006 7000. One of the early ones. This is one of the few Seiko models where I prefer it on a strap, not the original bracelet it came with. Not many watches like that for me, but this is one of them. It just has a nice presence. It's interesting too is that the case design, the way that the sides are angled and everything else like this, mimics some of the things from the 6159 cases, the 6217 cases. Sorry, 6215. With that undercut and the sort of the slab over. The early Grand Seikos looked like that too. It's a pretty watch. It's nice. But these sort of lines, this sort of heaviness of it, it becomes a little overbearing when it has the bracelet on it, which is a chiclet style. So I have been wearing this just because I want to positional test it. So I'm going to take that off now. And I'm going to show you what I have been wearing, which excited about. Look at that original crystal. This is a Seiko H558 5010. This watch I bought from one of my customers. I restored one for him, and then he had another one, and I bought it. He talked me into it. You're not seeing it as red as it ought to be, though, because this is actually pretty decent orange. Hang on a sec. See if that gives us any more orange. No, not really. It's but it's such a beautiful watch. So this watch, so the Arnie came out in 82. In like 84, I believe, the same gentleman who designed the 6105 divers and the 6309 divers, he and his team got together and they took this H558 movement and they built a whole new watch around it, specifically to be like this like super duper like Arctic survival field watch. And it was tested to like negative 40C and all this other kind of stuff. And they invented this style grip specifically to be easy grip for people with big gloves on. This style bezel was then later used just a couple of years later for the 7C43 ashtrays. Anyway, they designed this watch purpose-built. The crystals for these are crazy rare. I happen to have one. So, but I'm not going to swap it out just yet. The scratches don't bug me. It's a beautiful watch. It's a beautiful, beautiful watch. I love the orange highlights. And believe it or not, it came on a black leather strap. This is actually kind of what it was supposed to look at. The only thing is the strap was supposed to be all the way out to the ends of the lugs and then notched in to fit. So it should come out there. I'm probably going to have one made because the straps apparently are extraordinarily rare. Anyway, it's cool. It has all the regular Ernie features, all that stuff, light works and everything else like that. It's just a super cool watch. I have it on a old Hadley Roma strap for my strap graveyard, but it's nice because it's the same kind of look as the original strap. The original had stitching across the top here too, but it has this brushed, this bead blasted buckle, and I think it looks so nice. Anyway, that's my baby these days. That's about it. Oh, so Justin's an addendum. I was talking about all of the different projects I want to do. God, I've got a million of them. This is one I'm excited about. Again, it should be oranger on your screen. It shouldn't be greeny at all. This is like a nice powdery orange. This is a Seiko 7006. My brain doesn't work. I should remember, but I don't. 7006 8030. The last of the 70M sport divers. This one is unrestored. There she blows. I bet it stopped because it's starting to kick over the day date and it's unserviced. Let's find out. Yep, I was right. This one needs service, but it's original. Original loom, original hands and everything. This is an NOS. Whoever had it before me got an NOS rotating ring for it. Those are hard to find. They're really cool. They came on an Oyster like this, but with end links, but this is pretty close to what they looked like when they were new. And I will really, really want to rebuild this watch. I think it's just really cool. I think it's really pretty. Anyway, that's one project I'm pretty excited about. Got a lot of other things I want to do too, but that's it for now. I never knew any of that stuff about the field Arnie, the survivor Arnie. And it's really cool. I literally did not know any of that stuff. I just thought it was an odd variant. I didn't realize it was something made by, a very prestigious design team within Seiko, utterly independent of the Ernie itself, simply using that movement. I love the look of it. I love the look of it. And now that I know it was designed to be a working watch, like a really working watch by that team, wow, it's just amazing. So let's see what else is going on. Well, there's just so much I want to talk about. I've been buying a collection of watches and parts and tools and things from a particular gentleman, and when he finds things, he writes me and says, "Hey, I found X, Y, and Z. Do you want to buy it?" And because I don't want this, I'm not going to be doing this kind of watch work. I just don't think it's for me. I don't think I can do it. So I've been buying stuff from him, and he wrote me. He told me, "Hey man, I've got a watch. Do you want to buy this watch?" I didn't. Speaking of not knowing, and don't ever be ashamed of not knowing something. Ignorance is curable. Stupidity is not. Hopefully. But this is a model I didn't even know existed. You know the 7002s, right? 7002 diver, 7002, 7000, 7002, 7009. Do I have one down here? I'm trying to think if I have one on my pile of crap. You know, because piles of crap is kind of my thing. Hang on. Ah. So, you had, this is a 7002, 7009 in almost mint condition. Completely original. Right down to the original whatever the heck bracelet this thing is. It's a I can't read. I'm not wearing my visor. I can't read it. In any case, this is the correct original bracelet. These bracelets were used on the 7002s and also the slim case 6309s. So anyway, that's a standard 7002, 150 meters, and all that happy stuff. Also bidirectional, like so. The transitionals came out when the new ISO standards for dive watches came out, which Seiko helped write. Usual thing, industries deep into crafting regulations. So Seiko wanted to have a watch that met these, that met that criteria, which included 200-meter depth rating, luminous hands and dial, unidirectional 120-click bezel. So they made the transitional. They made them at the same time as the regular 7002s. They made them all the way up to the end. So the transitionals I've ever seen, they just say Divers 200 on the dial and they have a black ring. Did you know there was a Pepsi version? I didn't. I didn't until a couple, 3 weeks ago. I had no idea. And I went and looked it up. That is a Pepsi transitional. The only difference between this and the regular transitional is as far as I understand it, is the color of the insert. But this is actually correct. This is stock. Isn't that amazing? And again, on that correct bracelet. So that's a cool watch, don't you think? That's a neat watch. I didn't even know it existed. So that's cool. But so this box showed up from this gentleman. And he puts in a few extra things because he's not doing work on watches. He just doesn't feel that it's something that he can do. But so he sent me some books, and it just makes it just fills me with joy. Fills me with joy to have material like this. The 78 interchangeability guide. I have a 71 over there, but the 78 is very cool. And I'm going to have a separate video where I talk about this stuff, but I'm just like, all of the information and the exchanges and all the things to learn, it's just priceless. This stuff is priceless. He also sent me a fun thing, which was before Amazon, if you wanted to look at a catalog of choosing all kinds of different things, it used to be like Sears catalog or something, right? But there were also corporate gift companies, like the Bennett brothers. So you run a big company and you have your team of people and you want to give them gifts or something else like this. Well, you can buy things out of here or gift cards, but it's all mail-in stuff, and it's everything. Look at this. Everything you can imagine: silver plate, gold plate, electronics, cooking things. Oh, look, portable TVs. My granddad had one of those, actually. One of this kind. He did. He used to watch it on his. He'd sit in his den in his chair, smoking a cigar with the TV on his stomach. I remember that. But Yamaha binoculars, calculators. HO train sets. I don't quite know what I was thinking here. Why I put those markers in there. Ooh. Citizen. Fenris. We got us some Seiko. Look at that. So this is 1989, and yet they're selling Arnie's, which I don't think were being produced by that point anymore. Royal Oak, isn't that neat? 783.8. There's a, oh, look at that. That's another Royal Oak style with all white dial. I have one of those in pieces. I have like 3 of those. I have a number of these watches, actually. There's some good stuff. There's some good stuff in this. And plus, you know, it's a trip. It's time travel, right? That's pretty neat. But the greatest thing, seriously, it's one of the greatest pieces of reference I have ever received. I'm not even joking. I'm utterly delighted. There's all kinds of things that modern watch repair you don't have to know. There's all this sort of like the old school stuff, like the real watchsmiths back in the day, the guys who could make a watch from scratch, that kind of stuff, you know, the basic understanding of how to be a watchmaker. Well, like all kinds of crazy stuff, the really fiddly stuff like straightening hairsprings, repairing broken jewels, how to do the old style screw and set jewels and all this stuff. He sent me this book, Master Watchmaking, a complete and practical course by Thomas B. Swayze, founder and for 25 years principal of the Chicago School of Watchmaking. This is 1949, but he started in 1908, and it's got everything. Talking about doing things the old way or the new way, and pieces of technology that that no one has ever discussed with me, ways of doing things that had never occurred to me, because we're talking about pocket watches and early style balances. But it's literally a course. Like at the end, it has a test, like a huge long test to see if you can pass the test, if you've learned it. All the line sizes, how trains work, how to master watching. I'm trying to think. There was some. Oh, that's how to do clocks, layouts, different clocks. But then it's crazy. There are some things in here. There are some tools I've seen in here, and then I'm like, that's what that's for. Because I have a lot of old school watchsmith tools in here. I mean, the different kinds of studs for the hairsprings, how to fix a hairspring, like affix it, like with a little brass pin, how to deal with crown wheels, things to look for, how to remove hands. It tells you things like how to make your own hairsprings, how to make a Breguet overcoil yourself, exactly how it's supposed to do it. All this crazy stuff. It's got, it has detailed instructions with illustrations on jeweling, on lubrication, on how to use a staking tool, how to use the Seitz reamer. It specifically has a section on the Seitz reamer, how to do it, how to time things, balance intervals, how to adjust the balance, how to work with timing screws. I had to figure that out myself. I did it on my own watch, my Omega 321. I just figured it out. Timing washers. But you see, I shouldn't have had to. How to deal with jeweling, close stuff up, how to do luminous material, factory set train jewels, all these beautiful breakdowns, these guides. It was hard for me to start making this video because I just wanted to sit down and read this. Look at this. Friction jeweling, section 330. That is talking about And it gives comprehensive, understandable guides how to do this. So it's wonderful. My understanding is that these hard copies are kind of hard to find, but doing some research, apparently a lot of the PDFs are online. So this is a wonderful, complete watchmaking course. Old school. Truing hairsprings. Do you know how many bad balances I have in my stock with bad hairsprings? I mean, I can correct basic errors, but something major, I haven't been able to really have a whole lot of success doing that. But with this book, maybe I'll figure out how. Isn't that fun? Man, I love reference. Seriously, it's one of the greatest Christmas presents I have ever received. It's entertaining and it's informational. I'm so pleased. It's just so awesome. Yeah, here are some of the tests. The left column is the questions. The right column is the answers. I don't know. See if you can figure out some of that stuff. Okay, so I was super excited. Super excited. So these are questions from 2 weeks. Not too many from recently because it was people talking about the system for choosing new jobs. And that's what Bruce Young is talking about. Bruce Young, a great reason to turn on YouTube notifications. Too bad I missed this round. Next time. I want to set up a mailing list, like I said, and so that no matter where you are, what form you are, if you're asleep, if you're awake, if you're in an airplane, you will get notification that I'm going to open up slots, and it'll give you enough of a time heads up that you can make arrangements and figure stuff out. I will do it. Don't you worry, I will. I want things to be fair to everybody. I never want anyone to be able to say, hey, this isn't fair. And for me to say, you know what? You're right, it's not fair. I want it to be fair. This is a long comment from Keith Rolla. Keith Rolla sent me this long comment by email, and it got buried in one of my lesser used email boxes, so I never found it. And I've been meaning for the last 2 weeks to read it, because I think it's neat. But I keep forgetting to. A long time ago, I don't know, couple, 3, 4 mail calls ago, talking about airplane watches, pilot watches, and what watches pilots wear in the cockpit as they're flying. And so he made a comment about this. Keith Rolla, I am a retired airline pilot with about 50 years of being paid to mess with airplanes under my belt. Wow, that's pretty cool. That's awesome. Did you ever fly a 707? My grandmother and great-grandmother were on the first coast-to-coast nonstop jet flight, which was in 1959, and it was American Airlines. Yeah, it was American Airlines in a 707. They had all kinds of notables on board, including the poet laureate Carl Sandburg. Anything. It goes without saying that I follow your channel. I'm glad. It does not go without saying I appreciate you being here because you're choosing to do it. Being a watch geek as well, and to comment on last Friday's mail call, pilots do not and haven't, for my entire career, used their watches for much of anything else than balancing their left side against the pull of the flight bag being hauled in the right hand. Seeing you guys going through the airports year after year after year. When I was hired by American 35 years ago, we were required by the company to have a watch with a sweep second hand. Since all the jets had clocks of varying capabilities, it was redundant at best. Somewhere in the dim past, probably in the 90s, they did away with the whole watch requirement. I collect watches, strange old pawn-shop guitars, books by the truckload, I wrench on my 2 motorcycles and spend a great deal of time cooking. I have a fairly large offset smoker and it gets used and abused regularly. Plus I'm a partner in a restaurant. Wow, enough about me for now. That's amazing. Pawn shop guitars. I'm always looking for. I'm always look. There's a couple particular Fenders. There's the very first, the very first Squires or Japanese Fenders that were produced in Japan, were excellent quality, and they're hard to. They have a JV initial on their serial number. Another in that same era, Fender, still at the old Fullerton plant, at the beginning of the Dan Smith era, so like in 81, 82, in that era, kind of Strat made in California, was made after partnering with and talking with and researching with the Japanese factory that was going to make Japanese Fenders and Squires and stuff like that. And so those early ones, Dan Smith era, are they can be fantastic. I'm really considering that. So if you have anything like that, let me know. Oh, I'm also looking for a. Wow, I can't remember it right now. It'll come back to me. Staying with Keith Ruley here. Wrist check. Today I'm wearing one of my go-to daily favorites. It's an Oceanos Casio T3000 titanium solar GPS with Bluetooth, of course. Got it from Japan earlier this year. Very cool piece of kit. That is cool. That's like your Desert Island watch. Lastly, guitars. I love that you mess with guitars. I've played since I was about 11, back when dinosaurs roamed the earth. I have an eclectic collection of electric and acoustic guitars. Although not true classics, 3 of my favorites are my original, I bought it in high school, 69 Fender Kingman acoustic. I have a Kingman acoustic. No joke, I do. Sadie grabbed it though, and so it's in her room and she plays it. But yeah, I have a Kingman. 71 bullet neck Strat. Yeah, I know, people say the CBS years sucked, but the 71 was the first year Fender issued a natural finish, unpainted Strat, and so I have one. That is also the year I graduated high school. Man, I tell you, Fender makes a recreation of those early CBS ones with the big headstock, and I have to make it an effort to not look at those. I'd love to have something like that. I mean, Dave Gilmour's first neck, I'm sorry, the first maple neck he had on his guitar, the Black Strat, was a maple CBS big headstock. I love them. Okay, I've seen Clapton play a bullet neck live, and guess what? He sounded just like Clapton. My other favorite is my 73 Telecaster Deluxe. Dual humbuckers, Strat style headstock, carved body. Again, a natural finish. That's nuts. Wow, is that cool? Great playing guitar, and through the right amp, very tasty. There are others, but I love those 3, and I've had them the longest. I'll tell you about my Ovation Thunderhead someday. It was used on the Partridge Family TV show. That's amazing. That's really cool. Yeah, man, I love guitars. I love old stuff. I love things that are beautifully made that are used to create more beautiful things. I love vintage guitars. I love them. I really, really want to build I really want to build an earlier style Strat. I don't know. I'm really thinking about it. So anyway, Keith, I've been trying to read your comment for a month and something. So there it is. I enjoyed reading it. So thank you for the long comment. Okay, Michael Matera. Hi Spencer, great video as always. I too have a gold Black Panda. I almost never wear it. I will give your strap findings for that watch a try, and maybe I can give a little bit more effort to wear it. Your videos always spark renewed interest in watches I sometimes overlook. Thanks for that. You know, it's always good to look at things from a different direction. It always helps. The SNK strap, the black SNK strap with the long end flipped over so the leather reinforcement is hidden, it works pretty well. Maybe leather would be better. I don't know. I'm still going back and forth. It's tough. I don't wear gold, so. J. Co. I think the Black Panda would look cool on a black rally strap. Probably. Probably, sure. If it was in the brown-black spectrum versus the blue-black, it's not a bad idea. I'll have to look at them. David E. I'm working on one of these now, Black Panda. I don't understand how the watch glass tensioner works. Any ideas? So you're speaking about when Seiko has an acrylic, when it has a T crystal, like, you know, like for a Black Panda, it's 350TO2AN, either S or G, depending if it's silver or gold. The way that they work is that the glass, to have, when you have one of those crystals, waterproofing a watch, you can't just depend on the crystal, springing out enough to grip the inside of the case on the front, which is where those go, and not come out just by itself. The material isn't strong enough to do that. So you need to reinforce it. And the way you reinforce it is you have a tensioning ring. And the tensioning ring it's tight. And it's a tight fit. Not like a hard fit, but it should be quite snug. That ring is supposed to sit inside the crystal before you drop it. And so it makes it a little tougher, but then it reinforces the plastic so that it will hold to the sealing surfaces. That's what that's for. Tension rings tend to be pretty particular to a crystal. Sometimes you run into a situation where you get like a replacement crystal, like made by like a Stern-Kreitz or something like that. Sometimes the rings don't transfer over, in which case you need to get the original ring out of the original crystal and transfer that to the new crystal. But that doesn't always work. Sometimes, like if you get some of the crystals from like GS Supply, their crystals don't come with tension rings, and oftentimes the crystals are not really set up to take the tension ring, and you have to actually, the expectation is that you're going to hand modify the exterior of the crystal in order to take the tension ring. I find almost without exception what I have to do when I'm doing that and I have the original tension ring is I have to use a Dremel, and I basically and I spin it and I take down the outside diameter until it'll smoothly drop into the crystal. You shouldn't have to force it. If you try to force the crystal, if you need to force the crystal onto the tensioning ring, and it's a real hard job to do, you're basically guaranteeing yourself that you won't be able to drop it into the case with the right crystal press, because there won't be any way, if it's too tight, for the crystal to compress to get in, and it'll just end up shattering. So I have to tell you, to this day am always, I say a little prayer every single time I'm about to drop an acrylic crystal, believe me, because a lot of times it's easy, but there's sometimes, man. So anyway, that's how they work. Like the foundation on a house. Mr. Bruce Barlow. Spencer, check out the New Zealand greenstone. It looks a lot like your green rock that you have. Our greenstone is used in jewelry, etc., and has a great significance to the Maori for tools and weapons. Geologically, these are nephritis jade, bowenite, or serpentinite. I love those greenstones. I'm not finding them too often. They seem to be one of the rarer colors. They have sort of a very fine soapy feel to them. They're very interesting. And I noticed these green stones. There was an article I read, one of my archaeology things, and it was about the building palace temple that was the center of the Hittite Empire. Back in biblical days, back in the old ancient Near East, and the Hittite Empire, which was like Eastern Turkey, North Syria, that kind of thing. Like 1,000 years before BC, basically, and they had this big palace, and then of course they were destroyed. They got into fights with some other empires, and the Hittite Empire was just erased, and to the point that nobody ever took it back over. And the palace is sitting there on top of a mountain, and almost all the walls are gone, but there's like the walls of one room are still kind of there. And in the middle is the object that the room was built around, which is a cube of this green stone. Nobody's moved it. Nobody's done anything with it. Apparently the palace is in the middle of BFE. Nobody goes there. So, I don't know. I'm very curious about that green stone. I want to know more. And I'm going to look up about these rocks. Thank you. VB. This is talking about the 0703 electromechanical Seiko, the 16 jewel one that was in that pocket watch, which beats at 28.8, which is damn near high beat. I was VB. I was never able to find any documentation for servicing the 0702A. It's a weird one, and I don't really understand why someone isn't manufacturing a modern version. Plus, it's 28. I mean, come on. I cannot imagine any modern company taking the time to make a new electromechanical movement. I mean, it would be super, super cool. But I mean, the precision needed in order to make something like that, I don't know, it's so anachronistic. It's so anachronistic, but I agree, it's very cool. D. Mitz 22. Okay, he had a find. Well, that's weird. I took he's a HVAC guy, air conditioning and heat and that kind of stuff. I took a no heat call at a mall today because I was down in Burlington, Massachusetts. I've been through Burlington more times than I can imagine. The unit that had the problem was in a jewelry repair shop, and while there, I noticed that some pocket watches were on a bench and saw the same wall thumb as in your video with the minute hand off. I asked one of the workers there about it. He said it had been there for a couple of years and it was a forgotten piece. I gave them $30 for the 1908 Waltham 1894 17 jewel watch. Got home, opened it up, found the minute hand, popped it on, gave it a little wind, and as you like to say, it's a runner. That's awesome. That's awesome. Wait, so you could look on a bench in the back of this jewelry repair place, and there were some Waltham pocket watches and other stuff sitting on a bench, and they had been there for a couple of years, like on top of the bench. They hadn't bothered cleaning off the bench or packing anything away. Wow. And I fault myself for my organization. That's pretty cool. Glad you got that. Awesome job saving that. Jim Canataro, talking about the SNK 809, et cetera, et cetera. They were low-cost field/pilot-y style watches, 7S26 movements, and they came with a two-piece, beautifully made woven strap. And so the strap is the thing I'm talking about. The SNK is still readily available from Amazon for $94. Still a good bargain. That's amazing. I mean, so they never moved those to the 4R or 6R. So that means they're still selling 7S watches? Isn't that wild? I wonder if they have 7S26Cs. They must in them. So for $94, you can get a brand new 7S26C plus the case, plus the display backs, which are nice, because you can put them on anywhere. And you get that strap too. I don't know. I say it's a future classic. Thank you, Jim. Oh, this is from Tom N. He's commenting on when I was showing off my garage and my big wood wall. And because I forgot to put plastic under the thing so there's no vapor barrier. Nice job in the garage, Spencer. You'll probably be okay without the vapor barrier as long as you don't humidify that space. That would be humidifying anything in Colorado. It would be like taking a garden hose to fill the Grand Canyon. You can't humidify anything here. I can take a sopping wet towel, like literally dripping wet, and on a good day, put it out, and it'll be dry in under an hour. If it's a summer day, like a regular Colorado summer day, absolutely, it might be dry in half an hour. Like, no kidding. Yeah, water doesn't stay here, it goes away. I think that gold 6138 would rock on a black alligator strap. I do have, actually, a rather nice genuine black alligator strap. There's a strap maker who works out of Vietnam, that I've talked to a few times, and he does some nice stuff. I'm going to talk to him about making a bespoke strap for my Survivor H558 because it has that little step in it. Okay, this is from Spencer Braithwaite. I wonder if you could cut the steel keepers off the S&K strap and cannibalize part of another strap to make a new keeper like you described. I don't see why not. I have a blue one that I never liked with the original watch. I wonder if I could hack something together like that from a different watch. They are surprisingly nice straps. They are very nice straps. I considered there's a bunch of different ways you can do it. You could get you can get a flat metal keeper off of some straps. They make them. You could get the thickest possible woven black ribbon. Like literally, I mean, that used to be a thing. You can buy ribbons, and you can buy them different widths and thicknesses. Get a section of ribbon, and make a little tube and sew it in place, and that would work pretty well. Heck, you could even glue it in place. I'd sew it because then it would make it more flexible. But absolutely. His second comment is about my boots that I showed off, my West German boots. Those are killer boots, by the way. I'm a bit of a footwear obsessive, and there's nothing like old school quality. They're beautiful. I have to wear them. It's ridiculous that I've had them for like a quarter century, and I never wear them because I'm trying to keep them nice. It's just stupid. The amazing thing about those boots, I showed you the pegged wooden soles, right? Leather soles, multi-stack soles, and everything else like that. The leather for those soles, the company that made those went for the highest possible quality. The leather on those soles is oak tannin tanned for 3 years. So it's crazy the work they put in it. 3 years just to make the leather for the soles, whereas you can do injection molded plastic or rubber in minutes. I mean, it was just ridiculous and insane overkill. I don't even know how much it would cost to have that set of boots made today, or if you could find anybody to do it. Ryan Walters. The 7548 7000C orange dial is the best one. You're darn tootin' it is. Man, I love that watch. There's something about it. The everything about it is just perfect. The color of the insert, the beautiful sort of coppery gold of the insert. It's an exquisite watch. It's an exquisite watch. It's fantastic. And it came from you, so actually, it's interesting, people. He said, this Ryan Walters, he and I do a lot of things. A lot of the watches I have here actually come from him because we trade. He said he wanted a 7548 7000C orange dial. And so he wanted one. So I went and I did some research, and I found one in Japan, on Yahoo Japan. And it came in, finally. It was only like 2 or 3 days. Shipping from Japan is fast. But when I opened the box, my heart was like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. And the little devil on my shoulder was like, maybe you could keep it. And I said, that's not going to happen. But I did tell him when I wrote to him that it was here, I told him that I was tempted, but that I gave it up. But it is a beautiful watch. And then he found another orange watch and asked me if I wanted to buy back the 7548 7000C. And I said yes, and it is here now, and it's gorgeous. Here's a comment from Elaine Parent. It says Elaine Parent, but I have to imagine that's probably French, and I did not take French. Elaine Perron? I don't know. I could be wrong. Don't sue me. You need to start another channel to talk Ammonites. You might get a bunch of Ammonite buddies and figure out your mystery. Man, I hope that's not a bad idea. The only thing is that making videos takes time. I found more. It just keeps happening. We had to do a whole bunch of errands on Tuesday. Some unusual stuff happened. Running around all over town to places I have not been in quite some time. I'm looking around, 4 different stops, 3 of which I hadn't stopped at before, if memory serves. Every single one was Ammonites. Because there's a lot of places around here, because it's so dry, having grass, just grass sitting out, is really water wasteful. So more and more you're seeing, like, berms and, dividers between roads and, front garden beds going to xeriscaping rocks and things. And they've been doing that for a long time. So, but we're going to these places. I went to 4 places, 3 of which were new to me. And it was like, I couldn't believe it. I was looking down and I'm sure Sabrina's sick to death of me, but it's just, I looked down and I took a picture of the darn thing. Here, I'll insert a picture. I'm looking at the picture. I'm not looking at the picture. I'm looking down between my feet before I take the picture, and I'm like, they're all Ammonites. I can see them standing up. I'm 6 feet away from them, and I can see that they're Ammonites. So I took a picture of it. I didn't actually take any of them, because at this point, I think the challenge in Fort Collins, Colorado, is to find a rock that isn't an Ammonite versus one that is. But then I was looking at the picture, and I was blowing it up real big when I was home, and I'm like, every single one, all of them, every last one of them, everything. It's bizarre. I don't understand it. I literally, I don't understand it. How come no one else has noticed? How can it possibly be that every piece of gravel and river rock, like river cobbles, that I have looked at in this town, which is Fort Collins is pretty big. It's about, I don't know, 50, 60 square miles, something like that. No one's noticed? Did I actually die? I mean, this just seems unreal to me. So I don't know what reality I'm in, but I don't think it's the one I started in. John Boy of Alaska. Spencer, thanks again for the great videos. Well, thank you for watching. A question and a comment for the next video. First, about jeweling the lower mainspring arbor port on a 6119. Time for me to try it on a spare. How do you make the 1.59 millimeter hole? You have a Seitz reamer, and it has those. You can buy them. You can buy just that individual reamer if you need. They're sold. All those bits are standardized, and you can still buy them. So yeah, you have that, and it's a reamer. So it's basically it's a half circle, and it goes around like this. Tips on keeping it perfectly centered in the original hole rather than the wallowed out part. One of the biggest things about those things is to make sure that you have a good solid grease or oil for lubrication when you're cutting. That makes it much, much smoother. Officially, Seitz reamers are self-centering, but if they're not smooth about it, you can get them to bite in, and then you can start getting some movement. Use a good lubricant, but also we need to look for one of these Chicago School of Watchmaking things, because it talks all about that stuff. It specifically mentions how to do this, how to do that, and make sure that it stays exactly where you need it to be. But I have found that whatever problems I used to have, irregular hole size or burrs or in the wrong place, almost all of those problems went away when I started not being a weird neat freak, and just put oil on the thing I was grinding out. I just hate putting weird lubrication on stuff, but once I started doing that, it was great. What is the jewel size? Inner diameter is 1 millimeter. Outer diameter is 1.6, I think. It's not an olive hole or anything. It's straight hole. Wish it was an olive hole, but what are you gonna do? Okay. Secondly, a bit of advice for others of us. We are an us, by the way. We're a community. We're a community. We're going to be rebuilding the watches of the future. My cat. Un momento, por favor. Hi. What's up? Kitty cat. What are you doing? Woof. It's late. She wants her sitting on daddy time. What? You've got food right over there. You're complaining at me. Okay, secondly, a bit of advice for others of us. Denatured alcohol will ruin a vintage Seiko dial. Ask me how I know. I love that phrase. Hey, you found your food. Amazing. Well, since you asked, I tried it to get my cleaning soap and water off a 668120 dial. Turns the whole thing white. Woo, arg. From a hand winding 6119 8190 that now needs a new dial. A hand winding 6119. Typically, the hand winding versions have a different number. My hand winding for the 6100s it's a 61. My 6309 hand winder the movement is a 63. That's interesting. I will have to look that up. I can look to see if I might have that dial. I have a lot of older dials, so I can check. Let's see. Oh, well, thank you, Spencer, for the great advice. And thanks to everyone watching. You hear that, everyone? Mr. Boyarsky in Alaska says, thank you for watching. So, thank you. P.S. I love those SNK models. I got my kids a red dial and a green dial when they were born, and myself a blue one I put a great wave on. I love that handset. I will take any extras you don't want. I actually have a lot of those SNK hands. A lot of them came from... basically, I got a lot of material from... I got a lot of material from one person, and they were a serious modder, and there were piles of hands in there. Okay, last question from John Boy. Another question for Friday's mail call. Can the mainspring barrel on a 7005 be exchanged with a 6119-6106 mainspring barrel? I have several 6119s for parts, but no 7005s. Thanks. Merry Christmas. Hope things in Colorado are well. Except for the fence. Yeah, it's fine. And the fact that it's 60 degrees on Christmas Eve at 5:41 p.m. I'm wearing a sweater and I'm hot. But in any case, no, they will not swap over. The lower tip of the arbor is the same size for both. So the lower mainspring arbor jewel for the 6000 series will fit the 7000 series. That does work. But the stack, if you look at the barrels, a 7005, 7006, 7000, blah 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 blah, they have sort of that point in the bottom is actually it has a larger support structure, specifically to help it avoid wear. And so, yeah, they won't swap over. But damn near every other 7000 series mainspring barrel will. Colton Prater, could you do a restoration video on that Wolfram pocket watch? I could when I get to it. I have so many projects. There's so many things I want to do. There's so many things I want to do. So many things I want to do. It's just a matter of time, man. I thought I was going to have time when I stopped taking work and was done with, all the jobs in house, but that's not happening for a while. But I'd like to. I just don't know when. Paul Dame. I'll be interested in your take on the Seagull 1963. I bought one from AliExpress. And it was a disaster. Never wound correctly, eventually died completely, flogged the carcass for pennies on the dollar on eBay. Full disclosure, the status of the movement. I need to get me one of them. One, a broken one. I want to see what's up with that. I am going to get one because I want to see the movement. I think it'd be neat. About those same Seagull chronographs from Rick. I have a couple of those ST19 chronographs, one of those Air Force reissues and a Lawyer Gemini. It's a fascinating movement. Crazy that they can make them so cheap. I'm guessing when Venus folded or merged or got bought out or whatever, they just didn't need the tooling for the 175 anymore, so they sold it to the PRC. The current ST19 does feature some improvements though. They added a few jewels, so the whole train is jeweled now, except the mainspring. And they increased the beat rate to 6 beats per second and shrunk the balance wheel slightly. These old chronographs, these big old chronographs, led by like Omega and these other companies, they loved their big balances because they want their rotational stability. But it makes it harder to get a higher amplitude because you're pushing this extra weight around. Make it smaller, that's a little easier to do. Some of them now come with a swan neck regulator, which is crazy. That is crazy. A swan neck regulator is old school. It's like pocket watch technology. It's old school. Omega watch movements in the modern era had them, like the Omega 500 series watch movements in the 60s and 70s, swan necks, and it's a spring that has the adjustment lever, and it's pushing against the spring, and on the other side of it, it has a screw, and you can tighten the screw in and out, and it will do these super fine, very stable, very delicate changes. That's old school. I imagine that these are throwaway movements, as doing a proper service on one of these is likely to be a real pain with all the parts involved. They're not that bad, actually. These old style chronographs, they look intimidating because there's so much crap on them, but really it's just a pocket watch style 3-hand movement with a bunch of levers jammed on the top with cams and crap like that, that you have to take off and put on in the right order. It looks complicated. They're not that bad, I swear to God. Doing a proper service on one of these is likely to be a real pain with all the parts involved, and it's so cheap to just get another one. Mark Lovick recently did a teardown and rebuild video. Okay, I don't know who Mark Lovick is, but I say good luck to him, and I hope that it went well. I'll look at that thing. Okay, Mike Winnings. How do you go about demagnetizing a watch? I was gifted the exact same watch. Love it. Thanks for the great video. Demagnetizers, degaussers, they're really cheap. They're really inexpensive. And you just put the watch on the thing, and you go boop, and it sends up a field that randomizes all of the metal atom orientations, and then magnetism is gone. They're cheap. They're really cheap. They're like, I think I got my very first one for $18. The one I use now is a Vigor, which is a Japanese brand. It goes along with Seiko a lot, but I got it as part of a huge lot from a watchmaker's estate, and so those aren't, easy to find, but I don't think you need to. They make modern equivalents of all of this stuff now, so you just get them. Demagnetizers, absolutely key to have. Garrett Jansen. End of the year, end of the jobs. Congrats. Yeah, except I took more jobs. I've been striving for 4 years to get to the point where I had no customer work in the house. Nothing. Just so I could sit down and close my eyes and breathe for 5 minutes. But I got jobs coming in, but I'm going to get there again. Thoughts on the 2205 lady divers and their quartz equivalents? Always found the dial to bezel ratio a bit weird. I have small wrists and perpetually sad that most Seiko divers don't fit. What about the Seiko 6548s? Because they're the mid-size ones, and they're beautiful. They're cool. What about the SKX013? Those are pretty neat. The old sea urchins that people never talk about anymore, as far as I know, but those were a good size. I think those were 40 millimeter or maybe a little less. I like the 2205s. I can put a little thing about them because actually I have one that's like mint condition, very good, plus some other stuff. I just think it's pretty. It breaks my heart that it's so small, because it's such a pretty watch, and it's the equivalent. It's like a lady's 6105. It even has the filled in markers, completely flat top, high polish, with the ergonomic crown guard. I wish they made them in a real size. Very, very neat. Let's see. Separately, we've seen you tackle rust in a movement, but how do you handle rust corrosion spots on the watch itself? I've seen plenty of vintage watches with rust where the lug meets the case. Curious if that had a remedy. Cleaning. Things that are your friend dealing with cases. Now, you can go with something like a Vapo Rust and that other stuff. It's not bad. You're not supposed to use stainless steel with a Vapo Rust, though, or like a Tarnex or anything else like that. But my favorite tool in the entire world, which I use all the time, is Brasso. I love Brasso. So if I get a case, I pull it apart. You know what I'm talking about, right? I pull the back, or I pull the rotating ring, or I pull the bezel, and it's got those impacted rust spots and stuff in there. What I do first, I get a brand new Q-tip, and I get not a lot of Brasso in there, a little bit, and I get it on there with literally with my hands, and I just go around, and I basically gently go over the entire outside of the case. And that gets rid of the loose stuff. And then I clean it in my hand and I look at it. And if there's impacted rust or rust-filled pits, then I use basically dental picks to get in there to physically break the stuff out inside those holes. And as using pegwood as well, preferably, because you can't scratch with pegwood. And then you just get all the stuff out that you can. And then I go over it with Brasso again, and then I run it through ultrasonic with my watch and clock cleaner, which is the case ultrasonic, and you run that through hot enough after doing these things, and it will come out shiny metal. The pits will be shiny metal, and you will be much better. That's how I do it. Basically, as little mechanical removal as possible, chemical as much as possible. That's what I do. Oh, that was the end. That was the end. My gentle friend, the end. Man. Someone's got to help me figure out this Ammonite thing. I think I'm insane. But I swear to God, other people have seen it. Sabrina can see them now. I had to basically lean on her for a couple of months before she could see them in the rocks as easily as I could. Not quite as easily as I could, because she doesn't care, but I certainly can see them, and now she can see them. Sadie, our oldest, she told her best friend about it. They're in 9th grade, and her friend, who lives across town, went out of her house and was, for something else, she was walking down the street to do something. She saw her neighbor had like some rocks in like her little xeriscape front garden, and she went and picked a rock out. This is a 14-year-old girl just went, and she said, wow, this one looked interesting, and she grabbed it. And she grabbed this. And this just looks like a rock, right? It's probably pretty hard to see. I'm trying to think. This is a section of the middle of a whole series of ammonite coils. Imagine like these trumpets, coiled trumpets, over each other, or stacks of snail shells. And that's what this was. And not only that, what's amazing to me, do you see those dark, sort of purplish black spots there? They look like magic marker. They're not. They're not magic marker. That's cephalopod ink. It's literally fossilized ink. And this was just sitting out. They're all ammonites. Everything is. I have no idea why. But there it is. You can see some of it. If I put this under magnification for you, you'd be able to see what I was talking about. But I just can't believe it. I mean, they're actual sections of the actual exterior of the actual animal that was once alive. This bit right there, that little curve right there, that is the outside of our ex-ammonite. I don't know. It blows my mind. It blows my mind. But anyway, I have a lot more videos that I want to do. There's so much I want to talk about, but now's not the time. but I want to. I have a couple of yesterday's watch reviews I want to do. I want to talk about all kinds of different stuff. Anyway, oh, I'm also going to have a year-end let's look at the collection video. I'm going to do that later on, once we're past Christmas. And I'm sure that no more watches are going to be added. And I'm going to go through, I'll make my choices. That's it, folks. I want to thank you so much for watching 2021. It's, it just keeps going. I am grateful. I'm tired, but I'm very, very grateful. And thank you for taking time out of your day to watch my videos and to stick with me through all the things that have been going on. And I'll see you again. There will be more videos this year before it kicks over, but it's been a pretty okay 2021, don't you think? I mean, it's had a lot of horrible, horrible things that have happened. A lot of very bad things have happened, and they're still happening. But it's better than 2020, right? Okay. You know what? Look on the bright side. Folks, I'm going to go and make more videos. You have a great weekend.